What if Julius Caesar could react to history's biggest events? We taught AI to think like Caesar himself. And today, you'll hear his thoughts like never before. A new faith has emerged and is rapidly spreading within the Roman territories. Emperor Caesar, how should the empire have addressed this new movement?
Every new belief is a test for the existing order. If this new Christianity does not threaten Rome's laws and unity, tolerance should be shown. However, should it incite the populace and undermine the state's authority, decisive action would be necessary. An empire must be strong enough to encompass diverse beliefs, yet firm in its core values. Alea iacta est.
The Western Roman Empire has fallen, plunging Europe into a dark age. Emperor Caesar, had you been in power, how would you have prevented this collapse?
The fall of an empire is a result of internal weaknesses and external pressures. Had leadership been mine then, I would have first maintained the strength and discipline of the legions, preventing corruption. Furthermore, I would have reinforced the bonds between different regions, ensured economic stability, and secured the loyalty of the people through just governance. Unity and justice are the foundations of an empire. Veni, Vidi, Vici.
In England, the king's powers were limited by the Magna Carta. Emperor Caesar, how would you have evaluated such a people's charter?
A leader's power must rest upon the consent of the governed. If this charter aimed to establish justice and law, preventing arbitrary rule, then heeding the people's voice is important. However, if it weakens leadership and undermines the state's authority, caution is necessary. A balance must be struck between just governance and strong leadership. The die is cast.
Christopher Columbus discovered new lands. Emperor Caesar, had you lived then, how would you have organized expeditions to explore these new territories?
Discovering new lands has always been desirable for increasing Rome's power and wealth. Had such an opportunity arisen, I would have first developed our naval strength, commissioning experienced navigators and engineers. I would have established permanent settlements, created trade routes, and spread Roman culture in the discovered territories. However, establishing fair relations with the native peoples would also have been important. Fortune favors the bold.
The people revolted against monarchies. Emperor Caesar, would you have seen this power of the people as a threat or an opportunity for progress?
A people's uprising against injustice is a situation from which rulers must learn. If a monarchy fails to meet the needs of its people and descends into tyranny, then change may be inevitable. However, care must be taken that this change does not lead to chaos and anarchy. The ideal is a form of governance that respects the rights of the people and ensures stability. It is easier to find men who will volunteer to die than to find those who are willing to endure pain with patience.
Napoleon, inspired by the Roman Empire, sought to conquer Europe. Emperor Caesar, were his strategies successful in your opinion?
Napoleon's ambition and military genius are admirable. The desire to build a great empire like Rome is understandable. However, lasting dominion requires more than just military victories. Establishing just governance in conquered lands, uniting diverse cultures, and ensuring economic stability are also crucial. This was the secret to Rome's longevity. The greatest enemy will hide in the last place you would ever look.
2 world wars brought horrific destruction to humanity. Emperor Caesar, which ancient Roman principles of governance could have been adapted to prevent these conflicts?
Great wars often stem from unjust competition, territorial disputes, and imbalances of power. Rome used diplomacy, and law to balance power and resolve conflicts peacefully. A strong military also provided deterrence. Perhaps modern leaders should have more closely adopted Rome's balance of power politics and the rule of law. Divide et impera.
The United Nations was founded to establish international peace. Emperor Caesar, would a power like Rome have supported such a union?
Rome aimed to establish a peaceful order under its own dominion. However, the idea of different powers uniting for a common purpose is intriguing. If this union aimed to ensure justice and stability and did not contradict Rome's interests, it could be supported. However, maintaining our own strength and independence would always be paramount. Si vis pacem, para bellum.
East and West Europe reunified with the fall of the Berlin Wall. Emperor Caesar, in your opinion, what is more dangerous for an empire, divisions or unification?
The strength of an empire lies in its unity. Divisions lead to weakness and internal conflict. The fall of the Berlin Wall is significant as it marked the end of a long separation and the potential of unification. However, unification must be based on just foundations and respect for differences. Otherwise, new problems may arise. United we stand, divided we fall.
With the invention of the internet, information became accessible to everyone. Emperor Caesar, as an emperor, would you have supported or limited such free flow of information?
Information can be both a source of power and danger. If information is accurate and used for constructive purposes, it can benefit the empire's development. However, the free spread of false and inflammatory information can lead to unrest and disobedience. Therefore, rather than completely restricting the flow of information, it would be wiser to promote accurate knowledge and take measures against misleading information. Knowledge is power.
Thanks for watching. If you like the video and subscribe to our channel, you will be the first to know about new videos.